Excellent. So welcome, Sirin. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you kind of currently doing now?
So right now I'm an emotional well-being and mindset coach. So I'm working a lot with men and women, but particularly more so with women, helping them build their emotional well-being, helping them create a mindset that serves them, and ultimately it's about really empowering people to feel good about who they are, and going out there and creating a life that they really love and that fully fulfills them.
Awesome. Loving that. And you're doing that based in the UK at the moment, right? And online?
Yeah, so I'm in London at the moment. I do kind of travel quite a bit, so most of the time I am working remotely, and so my sessions are generally on Skype. Yeah. So and now I guess it's even more so the perfect time because people need it more than ever now over Skype. So it works pretty well, really.
Good old lockdown, eh? All right. So listen, one of the things I'm excited to pick your brains on is your transition, because this isn't what you always did, is it? This is something you transitioned into based on your own personal experience as well. So tell us a bit about that. How did you end up doing what you're doing?
Definitely, yeah. So I've been a coach now for the last few years, but I haven't always been, as you said, I haven't always been doing this and been an emotional well-being coach. My kind of story started probably when I was about like 16, 17, because that's when I first like hit the gym. So, you know, as a young girl, I was always dancing and, doing kind of sporty things, but I never like hit the gym until I was 16 and I got my like gym pass. And I became like pretty obsessed with it, actually. I do remember, I mean, I couldn't do that now, but I do remember like running on the treadmill for like 2.5 hours. And it was just like a breeze, you know? So yeah, just FYI, I can't do that right now. I could again, I'm sure. But yeah, kind of got really, really into my fitness. And while I was doing my A levels, I then qualified as a fitness instructor. So I pretty much qualified as, a Group X instructor when I was 17 years old. So I started teaching when I went to uni. I was kind of teaching in gyms as well. And then I started to get other fitness qualifications. And I kept on teaching all through like university. And after uni, after my A levels, I went into at uni. I went into kind of teaching English. So I kind of had these two careers. I was like training to be a teacher, but at the same time, I was like teaching fitness.
So and when I started transforming people in some way, shape, or form.
Do you know what? It seems to be my vocation. Like I seem to somehow always, like from the age of 17, this is what I seem to be doing. And I remember actually when I was like a little girl, I was always a teacher. No one ever was allowed to be the teacher apart from me. I had the whiteboard, and I had the register, and I was always a teacher. And so even though I'm not necessarily a teacher per se now, it seems to be in my blood. My mum's a teacher too.
Oh, there you go.
Ancestral, my DNA. But yeah, so I was kind of teaching in the fitness industry, and I was training to be a teacher, and I qualified as a teacher. And then when I was about 23, I got a job as a master trainer for a very big fitness brand. And it was amazing. Like I had an amazing time. I was traveling the world, training instructors, really, really good time. But a lot came up for me within that, for myself, and what I noticed about the industry. And the main thing that I noticed was that actually there wasn't, the focus wasn't on feeling healthy and being healthy at that level. The focus was on like, what do you look like, and like how big or small are your muscles, depending if you're a man or woman, and do you have flat abs, and how great do you look on stage, and very, very image heavy. And I was quite sensitive to this, and this kind of triggered me a lot, and it really was like a battle for me during that time with my own kind of demons of body and feeling like good enough, and feeling worthy, and you know, diet and body confidence. So all throughout that working in the fitness industry, I kind of battled with that. But at the same time, what I noticed that everybody else seemed to be battling with that as well, you know. And obviously I am generalizing, but it had very heavily, like many other instructors and master trainers, very concerned about the way they look, what they're eating, constantly on a diet. And instead of it being about, you know, physical health and feeling good and being healthy, it was really about, well, you know, how do I impress people by what I look like, and this focus being on image. And then I remember, like, one of the mentors, she said to me, I'd applied for like another position within a company to deliver something else as a master trainer, and she just said to me that my image didn't suit the position. And so I didn't get this job based on the way that I looked like. And, you know, I was not overweight. I've probably been like a size 10, 12 for many years. So, you know, I wasn't, you know, clinically overweight or unhealthy. I was very healthy in actual fact, but it didn't, you know, I didn't fit this apparent image. And so that like battered away at my confidence, made me feel really bad about who I was. And I carried on, but the more I carried on, the more I realized that it really wasn't just myself that was struggling. It was other instructors, you know, feeling like they weren't maybe good enough as instructors and that they were being judged, and they had this pressure and having to feel like they had to look a certain way. And I basically got really fed up of it. So when I was about 29 years old, I decided to quit, to leave that industry. And again, like, I want to stress that obviously not everybody is like that, but it was what I was exposed to very heavily. And I decided that no, well, you know, as much as you know, there are people who are really helping people with their physical fitness, it seems that the industry is also a little bit unhealthy with body image and the way they are relating to themselves. And so I decided that actually what I want to help people with is the way they feel about themselves, you know, their confidence, their self-esteem, feeling comfortable in their own skin, feeling comfortable and confident about their body, and knowing that their size or their shape or the way they look did not define their fitness, first of all, because you don't have to be a particular size to be fit, which I think the industry does seem to make you feel like you have to be this particular size, and it's not true. You know, I was a size 12, had a soft stomach, but I could do like 50 press-ups in a minute, which I think is fairly good, you know. Yeah, right? That's good, right, guys? And I remember that because I won a competition.
It's really interesting that you, like, because you've seen it from behind the scenes the same way that we have, right?
Definitely.
But there's people that obviously listen to you know, our episodes, and they might not see it from that standpoint, but they're experiencing the same things. Like, even like, you look at social media and that element of comparison and people photoshopping themselves on magazines and all that side of things. What reaction does that give you when you see that from that side of it as well?
From, as in like, from people comparing themselves, or when they're like photoshopping things? Is that
when
what you...
when they're comparing themselves to other people, when you're seeing just like somebody that maybe was once you before you'd been through your own transformation in that way, what's your first thought that pops up?
I feel sad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel sad that people feel there's this huge kind of dense feeling from my personal experience, and from obviously people that I've coached. It seems to be this dense feeling of like, I'm not enough. Like, it's not okay to look or be you know, who I am or what I look like, and I have to be better. I have to be a different size. I have to be a different body shape. I have to wear a certain type of clothing or have a certain hairstyle, you know, and if I don't do that, it's not okay. And that makes me feel really sad actually.
Go on.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of obviously interesting that you say that, because like the health and fitness industry is being marketed as obviously a way to improve health, improve confidence, self-esteem, make you feel better. But when you kind of look deeper into it, I think exactly what you say. It causes a lot more issues with obviously self-confidence, body issues, and people comparing themselves to unrealistic expectations of what they see on social media and stuff like that. And it is like quite saddening, quite frustrating to see that, because obviously that industry is meant to help people to feel better about themselves and not compete with each other and want to look like someone else. You're meant to be, the whole point of it is to be a better version of yourself, not to become someone else.
It's so true. And it's important to just highlight that we're not here to batter the health and fitness industry, right? There's a lot of real good people out there.
Definitely.
The majority are obviously experiencing it, aren't they? That's for sure.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's a really good point, like that word you use, unrealistic, you know, because I think that a lot of people do feel this pressure, yet for the average person who might have a full-time job, you know, or a mum that's looking after, you know, 2 or 3 kids and a house and a family and a social life, this aspiration to be what you see on Instagram, it is not realistic for many people, you know, because they don't even have the time to do it, you know. And of course we can make time for things, and there's that side of the argument as well. But I think it's really important, like you say, to be realistic. And I think part of being realistic is also about like acceptance, you know, acceptance of what is enough and what is okay, and that you don't have to aspire to be this unrealistic image of what health or fitness is.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. I think the biggest thing, the biggest question I think people will be asking if they're listening to this conversation is, well, okay, but now you know we feel like this because you felt like it too. How did you overcome it? Like,
Yeah.
Go through feeling the way that you were in terms of confidence and self-esteem, given the level of responsibility you had as well, to then obviously be empowering other people when you were still in that fitness side. So how did you transition into who you are now?
Yeah, good question.
You're more involved, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I would say the first thing is that it's a journey. You know, I think one of the things that people often think is like some kind of overnight process, or you wake up one day and you're like, hey, I'm this really confident, loving myself, comfortable with my body, everything's wonderful, you know, thinking person. And that's not the case. You know, it is a journey and it is a process, and it does take time. I think the first thing is that I woke up to knowing that I actually didn't want to feel like this anymore, and I wanted to do something about it. So I think that was the first thing, that desire to change the way I felt and change my relationship to myself, because I'd battled with that for so many years on multiple levels. And so I was like, right, I don't want to feel like this anymore. So the first thing I actually did, and I'm not saying this is recommended, but I actually took some time out from fitness to get a bit more internal. So I probably took maybe more time out from fitness at that time that I wished I had. But you know, that's obviously what I needed at that time to move away from all that all the triggers basically. So yeah, moving away from that, giving myself some space, and I started reading. So I think there are 2 things. One of the biggest ones is like reading and listening to podcasts, because for me, the more I read, the more it led me to like the next stage. It was like this, it was like I was following breadcrumbs to, you know, self-confidence, and breadcrumbs to self-belief, and breadcrumbs to self-love and acceptance. So everything I would read, it was like they would recommend something else, or they would give me a new technique. And it was just like this domino effect of learning more and learning more. And then that was the same with podcasts as well. I also started meditating and took that kind of quite seriously. For me, that really truly did help. It really helped me to kind of go inwards. And then maybe we'll be talking about those kind of things a bit more later on. and I had coaching myself. You know, I had coaching. I started with therapy. I kind of had quite a lot of therapy, you know, counseling and CBT. And I think for me, there were wonderful elements of it. But what it didn't do was it didn't give me enough, well, two things. It didn't remove these deep embedded feelings and belief systems, which coaching does, or the type of coaching I do, and I know that you guys do something probably very similar. But like removing this programming that was not serving me, these beliefs that were not serving me about myself, like taking them away and filling myself with feelings and thoughts that were empowering me and helped me to feel good about myself. And listening to my body, you know, not forcing myself to run on the treadmill for hours or starve myself. I stopped dieting. That was one of the biggest things. I haven't dieted for many years now.
We're going to turn the volume up for that bit.
Yeah, and I think that can be a struggle for someone who's always dieted, for sure, you know, like letting go, because there's this fear that, oh no, if I let go of control of my food, I'm going to become really unhealthy. And actually the opposite happens, you become really healthy.
Exactly. So I find it so interesting that what you said about your that initial step in when you woke up that something had to change. You actually stepped away from the physical side. I did the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Than probably what I should have, that's for sure. Yeah. I like just all in on all this like mind, body, like emotion connection and all of this stuff, and started to not only just have a break, but then I started to neglect that side as well. And then that's also an interesting like mind flip for somebody that does exercise often. So in the same way that you said, if somebody diets all the time, you then tell them to kind of stop, it's like completely out of the norm. And it's uncomfortable, right? So a big part of it's getting out of your comfort zone as well, isn't it? I mean, we talk a lot about resetting the system, and we've a lot of people that will work with us, when they come to us, that's the first thing that we get them to do is go through a serious reset of all those components, because then they get to start afresh and do exactly what you just said there about listening to themselves.
Yeah, and I like what you said, which is obviously very key about you got yourself in a situation where you weren't happy with what you were doing, and you literally took yourself away from it. You stepped out of it. You stepped back to look at the picture and start to question. And yeah, and when you do that, when obviously people do that, they start to then again, like you did, they start to question everything and find different ways and think, okay, there's got to be something else. And then you start like listening to podcasts, listening to books. And then you start to think, okay, I can try this, and then these things start to connect together. And then you start to find that kind of approach where you start not only just focusing on the physical, you start listening to your mind, you start listening to your emotions, you start meditating, you start reading more, you start just connecting on a deeper level. And then you start to, again, like you find the answers you're looking for, and it all starts from stepping away. And I think when people start to realize that, and they start to think, okay, it's okay to step back. It's okay to move away from what you're doing, like dieting all the time, or being in like the fitness side or the physical side all the time. Step away from it and just take a break, see what happens. Because it's like, if you don't know what's going to happen, that's not a bad thing. And you, like you say, in your case, what happened is, and same nothing happened with myself and Charlie, it was a good thing, because it helps you to question it and you find other routes and other paths that actually make more sense.
I think a lot of people can relate to what you said about the breadcrumbs, following the breadcrumbs, whether it be in a book or a piece of advice here or there. That's so common. What I'd like for you to, if you would, is to share a bit more about how the meditation helped you in the way that it did, because a lot of people are getting that they can really relate to the breadcrumbs, but there's still a lot of people on the fence when it comes to meditation and how that can influence their wellness. So give us a bit of a sneaky peek of your insight.
Well, when I talk about meditation, I always feel like, oh no, am I being really cliche? Am I being, really cheesy? Because everybody's talking about it, So people think, well, everybody's meditating now, and right? Yeah, well, okay, that's also true. But for me, I mean, the first thing is that none of these things are necessarily easy, but it's all part of a journey and process, and we can make it as easy as we want with the way that we relate to it and think about it. So for me, you know, I started meditating many years ago using apps, just apps here and then YouTube, and I never seemed to really connect to it. And then about 3 years ago, I did a meditation called transcendental meditation, and for me, that it changed my life. Basically, it was very strict what I had to do, and I followed it exactly the way it was supposed to be done for over a full year, and it, I mean, even now, like now, I meditate all the time. It's part of my morning ritual. I do it in the evening. But I'm a lot more intuitive about what I need and when I need and what type of meditation. So my meditation isn't necessarily the same kind of meditation every time, or at the same time of the day. But the reason why meditation for me was so transformative was because it wasn't necessarily about that immediate effect that it gave me at that time. So yes, it helped me feel like calmer and you know, maybe help with my breathing or help me to focus a little bit more. But it kind of it just changed my sense of being. Like it was like I was able to flow more. I was more at peace with myself. Even the way I spoke changed. The way that I reacted to things changed. And it helped me listen to myself more. So actually at that time when I started, I was kind of going through a bit of a major event. And whenever I meditated, it was such a difficult time actually, because my heart was telling me to do something so drastic, and I was so fearful of doing what it was telling me to do. But it was like it would be screaming at me and screaming at me. It was like, Sirin, listen to me. And in the end, I did listen to it, you know, and that was a whole nother journey. But yeah, it really helped me get in touch with like who I was, what I wanted, what I needed, along with just helping me feel a lot more calmer, a lot more peaceful, like less reactive to situations, kind of more responsive, and has led me down more of a spiritual path as well now.
Nice. And if you've got somebody that's like on the fence, that's not a massive fan of meditation, what would your like piece of advice be? And I'm kind of asking this obviously for our listeners, so because John's not really into meditation, like he is not in the traditional sense, more like the breath work, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's an experiment.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, exactly. Yeah. So it's like I said, there's many different forms of meditation, and I've tried the guided meditation, tried other ones, and for me, it's breathwork meditation that works for me. I enjoy it. I get that connection with it, and I think that's the key. Is there is no one size fits all. You've got to find what works for you, don't you?
I think that like John said, it is about you know, not there isn't one size kind of that fits all. And so like I said, it is an experiment, but meditation doesn't always have to be about just sitting there in silence. Like there are different ways of meditating, and yes, I've done years of sitting in silence, but I also do many other kinds of meditation. And I think that's when you know, once you've experimented, you can then get in tune with, well, what kind of meditation do I need right now? That might just be you opening a book and painting, you know, because in that moment of painting, you can be extremely present.
I agree completely. It's that I have the same approach. It's the intention behind it. So it doesn't matter the form of meditation. It can be going and doing a very, very present walk outside, and that can be just as effective, like you said, as sitting down silently for a period of time. It depends on what the intention behind going into that state of meditation is. If you're choosing to go in and out of different states, and obviously not living in that meditative state as often as we'd like.
And then we can also use it to like, you know, manifest and create more. And, you know, the meditations aren't always necessarily about just being present as well. And I really like doing a mixture of both. I feel like in the morning I kind of really need that time, even though I've just slept. I need that time to kind of just be like silent, and I like doing heartfulness meditation, so a bit like with the breath work, kind of getting very aligned mind heart. And then there are other times where I feel like actually maybe later in the day, okay, now I want to do a meditation where I'm going to focus on like manifesting and creating more of something, you know, or visualization, or maybe breath work, you know. So yeah, I think it's about listening to what you need, and knowing that there are all different kinds, and it can be fun. Like you can just try it and have fun with it. It doesn't have to be something you take so seriously, and I've got to sit there for 23 minutes now and meditate, you know. It doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a chore, right? You can actually enjoy it. What an idea. We can enjoy our little rituals that we have.
And so just going to say, just one more thing, that the time that you need to meditate the most is the time when you really don't want to do it. That's the time you really need to meditate.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, I deflected it a little bit. I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, oh, it's so true. It's so true, right? And I think the more you listen to it, the more you know why it's true.
Definitely.
So how have you noticed your actual health improve as a result of that?
From meditation?
Yeah.
Well, definitely like emotional and mental well-being, and for me that is health. You know, if I say from emotional and mental well-being side and wellness side of things, that has definitely improved. More focus, more clarity. I think clarity is like a big one. Having a lot more clarity about like what I'm doing, what I want, what's important to me, like what I need, what the world is about, what I can give, how I can serve, and being able to like answer questions with clarity, and having answers. So probably that is one of the things, in addition to, you know, just feeling like reducing my stress and feeling calmer. That's definitely a big one. So when I say, you know, when I said to you the times when you kind of don't want to do meditation, that's the time when you need to do it. So for me, that will often be when I'm really like anxious about something, or like getting stressy about something, and I'm thinking about it a lot, and I'm like, okay, sure, now you got to meditate because it's going to make you feel way better, you know. So probably, you know, helping with that as well, anxiety or stress.
Nice.
And just that kind of that physical release in your body as well, you know, your body just feeling a lot lighter after you've meditated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Like one thing I like to get my clients to do is to meditate before, I can meditate a small meditation before they actually work out. Puts them in that right state, in that right mindset, to again not just only feel but visualize what they're about to do and what they want to get out of it. So basically, they go into the workout already with the end goal in mind and completed. So the workout is the process in between.
The blueprint's
the blueprint's already there. So before they've even gone in, they already know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah, and there's also, you know, a lot of research on, you know, breathing exercises before doing physical exercise actually helps you perform so much better.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One thing you said earlier, which I'm interested in, you said about you got to a point where you realized you started listening to what your body wants and what your body needs, just forcing you to go through like a 2-hour run or whatever. So how, by listening to your body, how did that change kind of the results and the way that you felt doing exercise and physical activity?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question, because I think it's a really important point. And I think, again, for people who are very used to a lot of structure and intense exercise and following like a program, it's scary to think that now I've got to listen to what my body needs instead of what a piece of paper or a trainer is telling me. Because you know, the trainer might be telling us to do a particular exercise, but actually our body really doesn't need that at this moment or on this day. Maybe they do 2 days later or next week, but today actually it's going to affect me in a negative way instead of actually help me. So that is a scary thing for people, and it was for myself as well. the biggest thing I got out of that was I stopped injuring myself. So even though as a professional, you're both like nodding your heads.
The rehab, so that's like music to his ears.
Yeah. It's the one thing, if I could get everyone to understand, if they start listening to themselves and stop just following the same structured routine, same structured workout every single day, even if they don't feel like they don't want, not doing it, the rate of injuries is going to drop massively because your body will start doing what it wants to do and what it enjoys doing instead of getting forced to do stuff. It just doesn't want to.
And then the relationship improves as well, doesn't it? Like you don't then feel guilty for not doing it if you're already giving yourself permission to have that rest or to have a lighter workout or to have a more intense workout when you need it.
Definitely.
That's giving and receiving happening within you, isn't it?
Like even as like a fitness professional who, you know, and I've got many certificates in fitness and health, I knew what I'm doing with my body. You know, I know what I'm doing, but I would still injure myself. So and it was maybe because I wasn't being intuitive, I wasn't listening. And you have to really go inside to be able to feel what it is that you need. And that takes practice, you know, that does take practice, because it's not something that everyone is automatically able to do. But with practice, you definitely can. And I think when you are able to listen to your body, you actually do exercise that is going to get you fitter and healthier.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. I love it. It's Sirin. We're definitely on the same page here, 100%. So listen, we've got a couple of questions kind of ask any guests that come on, and the first one is like, in the last 5 years, what's the best belief or behavior or habit that has most improved your life?
Yeah. So probably I mean, I know we've spoken about this already, but definitely meditation.
Yeah, it's up there with mine.
Because it is part of my morning ritual, and it's literally, if I don't do it when I wake up, I'm like, that's not normal. Like I need to do it, you know, and I think that's a really good feeling. So definitely meditation. As I said before, also this continual like exposure to more so podcasts now than books. Before it was very much kind of book heavy, but I just listen to podcasts like while I'm walking all the time, and I just learn so much from that. And I think probably the biggest thing was changing my belief system. And again, this is not something that you can do in one session with a coach. You might be able to change one belief in a session, you know, 2 or 3 or 5, but not your whole life, you know. And so right, so it's definitely been like a process of changing my belief systems, and this is why I find this is a key element when I'm coaching my clients, because this is what ultimately changes them and changes their life. And so yes, I've done a lot of work on myself, but even now I still work with a coach sometimes, and I still coach myself, you know, and I still change things that come up, because things will come up all the time. So definitely an awareness, you know, an awareness of what is going on for me, and how can I change this to create more happiness and joy for myself, and more success, and my definition of what that is.
Nice. Love it.
Awesome. I like that when you said about creating happiness and joy for yourself. So it's, for those listening, you create your happiness and joy.
You create it.
You create it.
Yeah, we really do. And I think, John, that's actually probably one of the biggest realizations, is that, which is a very big kind of thing that I see everywhere now, is that we're creating our reality, you know, and I see this all the time. And it's like, when you grasp that concept, you take back power and control. And it's like, so okay, I'm really the one of like in charge of my happiness. Like I'm really one that's in charge of how I feel about food. Like, you know, I'm really the one that's in charge of my relationships. Like, yeah, you are, you know. So we are creating whatever it is that we want. And when we really grasp that concept, we can step into our power and create whatever it is that we want, and remove whatever it is that we don't want.
Nice.
Boom. In a nutshell.
I'm sure the listeners are literally hanging on every word you're saying. So while they're hanging on, is what's one piece of practical advice would you give to anyone who's listening now, and why?
So my whole philosophy is about feeling good. So I would say chase feeling good. Yeah. And so this is, again, maybe a bit something that is, some people might say intuitive, but I think we automatically know what feels us good and what doesn't. So as long as you have a sense of awareness of what brings you happiness and what doesn't, once you step into a place where you're able to kind of chase feeling good, whether that means with your food, with your health, with your body, with relationships, with money, with your home, it's going to bring you, it's going to, you know, level up your frequency, it's going to level up your energy. And as we just said, you know, we are able to create whatever it is that we want. We are in control. And when we're in a place where we are vibrating at this frequency of feeling good and being in our best emotional state, we can create more of what we want. We can attract more of what we want, and it's going to come to you. So definitely, for me, it's about feeling good in all those areas of your life. So, you know, what do you need to do today to feel good?
Nice. I like that. Awesome. It's super simple, and anyone can do that, right? So
yeah.
Watching this, literally press pause and ask yourself that question, because that alone will change the game. And it can be a massive pivotal moment in your breadcrumb journey, that's for sure.
And that might be something as small as like just deciding who you're going to follow on Instagram, you know? It could be something as small as that, because if you're on Instagram for 2 hours of the day, you could be feeling pretty rubbish about yourself, you know, and you could change that. You know, and obviously it could be as big as you want to make that transition into feeling good too.
So on that note, where can our listeners find you on Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is you're hanging out?
Oh, amazing. So my Instagram is @theworldofwonderful. And the reason I called it that was because my whole concept is about creating a world for you that is truly wonderful, that feels good in every aspect. And my website is www.sirinortanca.com. So I'm sure if you're working out how to spell that, it might be in the notes of the the podcast recording.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you feel like you need to share with our audience today?
I think, you know, guys, it's really about you taking that journey to go inside and work on this feeling of feeling enough in this world, because when you feel enough and you feel whole and you feel worthy, there are so many beautiful opportunities out there for us. And you know, this life is here for living, and you can live this life in the most beautiful way when you feel good about yourself.
Awesome. I think that's a perfect way to kind of end this podcast, this episode. Listen, Sirin, thank you so much for coming on. I think it's been a great conversation. I think our listeners are going to love it. We've definitely enjoyed it.
It's been absolutely amazing. It's been really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Thanks for having me.
And with our listeners.
Oh, thank you, guys.
You're most welcome.